What's up, everybody, and welcome to Rockers to Doctors Monthly News Review, where we'll be covering all January's gossip, rumors, announcements, and new releases. My name is Dorian Prescott.
And I'm Nova Starwick. Tonight's episode is loaded. We've got tributes, collabs, comebacks, drama, and 100 other things that'll stoke your algorithms.
We've got Ozzy, Youngblood, Megadeth, Black Label Society, some more Megadeth, and then a little bit of Megadeth. And in case you missed it, we've got some Megadeth.
We've got Metallica entering a new partnership. Quiet Riot is still arguing. Stranger Things is bringing in Linkin Park or vice versa. Plus, Def Leppard, Poison Drama, and some love for newer bands like Wicked Angel.
So if you're here for the legends, the chaos, or just to hear me slowly age in real time, then you're in the right place.
Come check us out at rockerstodoctors.com. Subscribe. And if you prefer me to Dorian, hit that like button. Or if you prefer Dorian, you can still click the like button. I won't be offended much.
Without further ado, let's deconstruct the ideological underpinnings of the repressive state apparatus known as the monthly news in 3, 2, 1.
For our first news story for January, we're going to be discussing the Grammys and Ozzy Osbourne. So, Dorian, the Grammys are going to honor Ozzy Osbourne with a televised tribute performance, positioning his legacy within a really rare mainstream award spotlight for metal. Now, this is really cool. So, the performer lineup includes Post Malone, Slash, Duff McKagan, Chad Smith, and Andrew Watt. Do you know all those people?
I know all those people. Not too familiar with Post Malone. I know I'm going to probably get some comments about that. But this is a lot of the guys that played at the Back to the Beginning too, right?
That's true. So, Post Malone had previously collaborated with Ozzy on the song Take What You Want. And this really expanded things out for Ozzy because a lot of younger people weren't exactly aware of who Ozzy was. So it became kind of like a meme on TikTok where people are like, hey, Post Malone discovered this guy. And isn't it so nice that he's bringing this Ozzy up with him? So that's kind of where Post Malone came in with this. Andrew Watt produced Ozzy Osbourne's final two solo albums. So obviously we know Slash and Duff and Chad Smith are all performers that have worked with Ozzy before and were at Back to the Beginning.
Duff played it Back to the Beginning with Ozzy?
No, I don't think he played at Back to the Beginning, but he's worked with Ozzy in the past.
Cool.
Yeah.
What about Zach Wilde? Where's he?
Well, Zach is not part of this Grammy celebration for Ozzy. I guess Slash will be taking that place for him. Maybe Zach is out on the road with Black Label Society. Maybe he had a conflict. They are out touring. He's a busy man, Dorian.
Right.
You know, he's got something coming up at Amoeba Records where he's going to promote the new Black Label Society album. He's going to do an acoustic set there.
You're on top of this.
I am. Zach is a very busy man. So, you know what? He probably had to tell the Grammys, no, I can't. I've got other commitments. Actually, I don't know, but no, Zach. Maybe he'll be a surprise guest for all we know. But officially, it's only Post Malone, Slash, Duff, Chad, and Andrew Watt who will be the performers for this segment. Now, the Grammys are going to be taking place actually tonight because we're recording this on February 1st. So this Grammy broadcast will be taking place this evening. And if you were to attend live, it's in Los Angeles at the Crypto.com arena. Crypto.com arena.
Crypto.com. Are they even a public company anymore?
One
thing. So, article I read said that they will be doing a 3-song medley of Ozzy's most celebrated anthems. So the question would be, what do you think those 3 songs are? What are the 3 most indicative Ozzy Osbourne songs that
Crazy Train.
check?
Crazy
Then
Train.
it gets fuzzy.
Well, because they could do some Sabbath.
Yeah, I was thinking 2 Sabbath and 1.
Yeah, I see them doing some Sabbath. I see them, of course, doing Crazy Train.
Yeah. Paranoid, Crazy Train. I don't know it wouldn't be War Pigs because that's kind of slow. So it'd probably be Iron Man or something. Those are the ones that everybody knows.
Mama, I'm Coming Home.
Yeah. All right. We should start a betting pool on this.
We should. We better get on that really fast because it's going to happen tonight. We don't have a lot of time. So that's everything on that we really have to talk about with Ozzy and the Grammys. unless you can think of something else to talk about with any of the former tributes or anything, or who else should be there? Because
Mm,
obviously we're talking Zach and he's not there. What about Youngblood?
yeah, right. Well, he's probably busy too. He's been doing some social networking, and apparently he's going to be or wants to hook up with Eddie Vedder at some point to collaborate.
That's true. He does wanna hook up with Eddie Vedder. So, he and Eddie Vedder, they got together, they were at a corporate event. There were a lot of other performers there besides them, but that's where he got to really meet Eddie Vedder, and they really got on, and Youngblood thinks that it might be possible that they might write together in the future. So, he made these comments when he was talking to Rolling Stone's Music Now podcast. Yeah, and the two of them met at a private gig for Eldridge Industries, which is a holding company, and there were a lot of other performers there as well. So, like Slash was there, Duff was there, Bruno Mars was there, Brandy Carlisle, Chad Smith, Andrew Watt. So, some of the
Wow,
people that are going to actually be at the Grammys
Grammys.
doing this tribute to Ozzy were actually at this Eldridge Industries event. And that's where Youngblood hooked up with Eddie Vedder. I think that could be interesting, Youngblood and Eddie Vedder hooking up. What do you think about Youngblood hooking up with all of these different, older musicians? So we've got Aerosmith, Ozzy, of course. What do you think? Eddie Vedder?
Well, all right. So one thing I want to know is you mentioned that the Post Malone fans were like, "Wow, he discovered this guy, this old guy named Ozzy Osbourne, and kind of dragged him out of the gutter." I'm wondering if Youngblood fans are now going to be turned on to Pearl Jam, which is a completely different kind of music than what Youngblood was doing with Aerosmith and Ozzy. But I mean, I saw Pearl Jam play in May, and one of the best concerts I've ever seen. And I'm not a hardcore Pearl Jam fan, so I think both Eddie Vedder's personality and Youngblood's like personality, the two of them are going to get some magic together. That's going to be an interesting collaboration.
Yeah, I think it is. I'm excited to hear whatever it is they're going to come up with because I've been very pleased about all these collaborations he's been doing so far. So it's exciting.
So Guns N' Roses, we got a new album update coming
Let's
around.
stop.
Yeah.
Let's do a stop.
Okay.
And we're on.
On Thursday, January 29th, Slash spoke to Loudwire News about the two new Guns N' Roses songs, Atlas and Nothing, and revealed that the band is getting close to starting work on its next studio album.
That's really exciting that they're getting to start up on their next studio album. I believe that I saw that he had said that the music that he's going to be doing is not reworking of old stuff from the Chinese democracy era like Atlas and Nothing are. So, did you hear anything more about that?
So apparently they've got 10 songs that they're working on, brand new ones. And I think it was a big surprise for a lot of us that were really waiting for this Atlas and Nothing singles to come out. We listened to them and it just didn't, to me, it didn't sound right. And to a lot of fans, more of the story came out that these were just kind of grabbed B-sides from the Chinese bankruptcy era. I call it that. It's the Chinese democracy era. So they felt like Chinese democracy songs. And I think most fans are just not really happy with the Chinese democracy albums. It
Yeah,
was nice.
yeah, they really did sound like Chinese democracy songs. And from what I've seen, a lot of that was they redid the guitars, the
Yeah.
bass, maybe they wrote some new parts around the drums and vocals. So I've been listening to Atlas and Nothing and really trying to get a feel for them. And you're right, they do sound exactly like they came from that Chinese democracy era. And I do have to say something about Nothing that might be a little bit of a hot take. But you know how in the beginning it kind of has that like a keyboard sort of,
Mm-hmm.
and that follows through from the song? So hear me out here. When I was listening to that one of the times, I was like, that sounds kind of familiar. And do you know what that reminds me of?
What?
So, you know the song Just a Friend from Biz Markie?
Yeah. Does this sound like that?
It does a
I
little bit,
said
yes.
he's just a
I
friend. Oh, baby, you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So if you listen to it, it does sound a little bit like that discordant, keyboard sound from Biz Markie, Just a Friend. Like, not
Awesome.
exact, but I was like, "What does it remind me of?" And that's what it reminds me of.
Ooh. I thought I was never going to listen to those two songs again, but now I will.
Yeah, you'll have to take a listen and see if I'm right, and anyone else listening, take a listen to the 2 of them and let me know if I'm onto something here or if I am way off, but that's what it made me think of, and I had to go back through and I had to listen to Just a Friend to really see, and
Wow.
then I went back to Nothing and I was like, "Yeah, it's a little similar."
I will report back. I will do a music analysis, tell you what key it's in, tell you what the tempo is, maybe match the melodies to see if they're the same. I doubt they did this deliberately.
Oh, no, 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 no. No, I'm sure, Guns N' Roses trying to copy Bismarcky.
Bismarck, but nobody would expect that. That
No,
would be
no.
the that would be the kind of plagiarism they could get away with. Well, although you figured it out.
I figured it out.
Yep.
They were so hard up for ideas, and we've reported on Guns N' Roses before with all of this and this work that they did on Chinese Democracy, and who was it? Axel and Dizzy going back through with the synths and things like that.
Yep.
Who knows? Maybe they did take a little bit from Bismarcky. They
That
were
could have
walking
been.
out somewhere and they just kind of heard that discordant keyboard and bad singing, and they were like, "This is what we got to do."
Yep. Or
Anyway,
or
I'm excited for new stuff
yeah, exactly.
that hopefully is not stealing from Bismarcky or inspired by Bismarcky.
Now, in other interviews with Slash, he did say that these are going to be rock songs, that they're going to be hard rocking songs. So that's what I'm eager for because I don't feel like I got that on Chinese Democracy. Yeah, those are rocking songs, but they sounded more like a science project to me than like a
Yes.
band playing songs. What I do like about Atlas and Nothing is that we have some of the original Guns N' Roses lineup in there, and Slash's solo in Nothing is great. It's a really good guitar solo. That's the shining light in that song.
Yes. I agree with that. That was not Bismarcky inspired.
In case you've been living under a rock, Megadeth released their self-titled album, their farewell album, Megadeth. And man, the amount of comments given on this is wild. It's been met mostly with a little bit of ambivalence. Some fans really like it, but most of the comments I've read and discussions I've heard, people are like, yeah, it's kind of like the last 3 albums. It's been 43 years. This band has been together for 43 years. They've had 17 albums and 32 member changes. Really, really big journey. This time around, we've got Dave Mustaine is the only original member there, and he's got a guitarist named Timu. Sorry, I'm butchering this. Timu Manti. Sorry. Interesting name. Fans have run with that one. They're calling him the Timu Mustaine because he plays just like Dave does. I love the solos on the album. The solos are just great. And that's, for me, that's the most magnetic thing about the album. The last note, the last song on the album, it ends with Mustaine saying, "I came, I ruled, now I disappear." So he's really going out with a huge theatrical bang on this one. And perhaps the biggest theatrical firecracker he has got on here is the cover of Metallica's Ride the Lightning. Did you hear this? What do you think?
I did, and I don't know that it's it is a cover, but Dave did help write that song when
Yeah.
he was actually in Metallica. So I guess it's a cover. Like, can you do a cover of your own song?
Yeah.
He just changed it up a little bit to fit more of Megadeth, their mood and feel rather than Metallica. So I did
Right.
like it. It does have a very much Megadeth edge to it rather than Metallica. Now I do think I prefer the Metallica version, but that could be because I'm more used to that.
Yep.
But I did appreciate what Dave did to Ride the Lightning. He did a good job with it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My ears would not accept it. And I think this is something that lots of fans, like hardcore old school Metallica fans, are going to have the same issue. And I got Ride the Lightning when I was in 9th grade, and every day on the bus to school, I blew out my hearing on that album. And Ride the Lightning is, I think it's the second song on the album. It just permanently in my brain. Like, I don't even need to listen to it anymore. I could just think of the song and play it note for note in my head. So then hearing Dave put his own twist to it, I've got 35 years of listening to that song. It created cognitive dissonance. Like, it was just, my brain was like, what's going on? This sounds so weird. It's not right. Because the template is so firmly embedded in me. And I think a lot of other fans were going through that. I was interested in this album so I could hear Ride the Lightning. I didn't really like the last couple Didn't at all. Didn't like the last couple Megadeth albums at all. So this is the one that drew me to it, and I came out of it liking other songs on there. Uh,
What did you think of Puppet Parade? That's their new single that just came out.
I like it. Again, I love the guitar parts in it, and Dave sounds like Dave. What was your reaction to that?
So I like Puppet Parade because I like when Dave has that lower kind of gritty growl that he does.
Right.
I prefer that with his singing. I like all of it, but I tend to go more toward those songs. And Puppet Parade is more of that, where he's got that lower register, kind of that gritty growl to it. So I did like Puppet Parade. I did like the guitars to it.
Yep.
Musically, I liked everything about it. It is definitely a Megadeth song.
Yeah. The one that got me the most, and this, I guess, is my hot take, because this is the one that the fans are complaining about the most, like really ripping on, is that I Don't Care song, because it's kind of simple and maybe a little bit juvenile. And that's what I like about it. It really points back to the first couple of Megadeth albums that were more punk. And plus, it's an earworm. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, literally the lyrics are, I don't care, blah, blah, blah. I don't care, blah. All day long yesterday, me and my bandmates were just joking around like, hey, do you want something to drink? I don't care about getting another drink. I don't care about losing my car keys. I don't care if my amp's too loud. So he created an earworm. And when you create earworms, you sell records. People buy them. I start singing this stuff in the shower, even, you know? So success on that song to me. Now, we'll probably get a bunch of people like that is the worst song we've ever heard them do.
Well, now, what do you think about Dave moving out after this Megadeth tour that is going to go on for a while? I think he said it's going to go on for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But from there, he wants to move on and do his own solo stuff that isn't Megadeth. What do you think he's going to do?
I think it's going to sound like Megadeth, that it'll be indistinguishable.
I think you're right. Maybe he'll do something with Youngblood.
Maybe he'll do something with Eddie Vedder.
Maybe. I see maybe something more with Youngblood than with Eddie Vedder, but maybe that would be an interesting contrast.
Where does Youngblood stand politically?
Youngblood likes all people.
Okay.
Yeah, Youngblood is very accepting, and he has a very healthy mindset in general, and he likes all types. I would say that he is probably opposed to, people trampling on people's rights
Yeah.
and things like that. I don't think that would be a reach to say about him, but he embraces all people and he's positive about mental health and caring for yourself and things like that. So
That
that
could
seems to
be
be the
it.
sort of person he is.
That would be a very interesting match. Like, Mustaine is very political and very kind of incendiary, but hey, that might bring some magic too. So, yeah, Dave Mustaine's gonna put out some solo albums, and he's gonna have to really surprise us to make us think that it's not another Megadeth album without the word Megadeth on there. So maybe he'll do some jazz or something like that.
Improvisational jazz.
Yeah, improv jazz.
Yeah.
So nothing has been simple in the world of Quiet Riot. It never is. Constant lineup changes, constant drama. The first 5 albums had the singer Kevin DeBrow. You all remember him from Come On Feel the Noise and Bang Your Head. And he played with Randy Rhoads, and he had Frankie Banali on drums and Rudy Sarzo on bass. They made albums up till Quiet Riot 4, and then Kevin was kicked out of the band because of some things that he was saying, specifically about Ozzy Osbourne. And he was replaced by Paul Sortino from King Cobra and Rough Cut, if you've heard of them. Now, recently, Paul Sortino was a singer on Quiet Riot 4. Paul's other band, Rough Cut, got into a little dispute with Sony Records about their album, and he was able to get the rights back and start getting royalty payments from the Rough Cut albums. It occurred to Paul Sortino, maybe I could do the same thing with the Quiet Riot album I was on, Quiet Riot 4. So that's when he started to make appeals to the record company to get that Quiet Riot stuff back. And he started making announcements on social media, and that caused a stir. One thing he said is, we might take Frankie off all the tracks as Frankie Banali and bring in Carmen Apiece and retrack the drums for the whole album. Because Regina Banali, that would be Frankie's wife, owns that part of Quiet Riot, and she owns all the prior Quiet Riot stuff. So he wanted to go in there and add 2 new songs that he worked on with Carlos, and also to rework Frankie's drum parts. So, of course, there was some backlash.
Yeah, Frankie Banali's estate And Quiet Riot's legacy management, not happy about this at all. So there is a lot of pushback, and this is a very sensitive topic for fans. And besides all that, when you look at band and label rights and reissue control, it's really a recurring Legacy Act issue at this point. They want to get the rights back. They want to get money coming in for these things. So they want to reissue them and change them a little bit so they can start making money. So you have that artist's desire for that control, which can then collide with how fans view this music, how they hear this music and their concerns and revisionism.
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the issue with, well, I have an issue, and a lot of old school Quiet Riot fans have an issue with replacing Frankie or doing anything, because he was the heart of the band. It was Kevin and Frankie. They had Randy and you had Rudy and whatnot, but the two of them. And to take Frankie out of it is, in a way, to take something sacred away from the music. But Shortino says Sony Music owns the rights to Quiet Riot 4, and to make things clear, what was left out was a hypothetical to change the drums if they were recorded to a click, which they weren't. So there's so much more you don't know about this, he said. I'm grateful for a Quiet Riot album we did, and so on. So he's insinuating that they're actually unable to do anything with, at least that's how I'm taking it, unable to do anything with Frankie's drum parts, at least.
Well, either way, to me, it's more of a money grab. And you know what? In a way, I respect that. Everybody needs money. You want to get something coming in. So I see where he might be coming from. If I redo this a little bit and then re-release it, it changes it and I can start getting money from this for me. But I don't think it's right to just change that either. Like just have somebody, re-record the drums and be like, yeah, now I can make money off of this.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem right when you look at it that way. But I respect the hustle there where he's like he's trying to figure out a way to bring in some income, but I don't think that's the right way to do it.
And not to trash the guy, but his expectations seem a little bit weird to me, because as far as I know, not too many people are like waiting to get a new copy of Quiet Riot 4. I mean,
Well, maybe
he
he's looked at how, some of these old songs have come back through Stranger Things, and he's just like, you know what? If I redo this, it's going to get picked up somewhere and it's going to explode to the top of the charts. Maybe.
well, I don't know about that. Now he is throwing two new songs that he, Carlos, and Frankie wrote onto it. So I guess diehards might be interested in that. But overall, Quiet Riot 4 was like not a great album.
Yeah. Well, do you think that he might start going the route that some of these other rockers are going, these old guys too? And we're going to talk about this in more detail with some other bands later on, but where they're trying to really control how fans get these albums to where they're not
Mm,
putting them out on streaming services and you have to go directly and purchase like a hard copy from these guys
right.
that they're trying to do.
I wonder if that's what he's going to do, because that does seem like the new thing to do, to grab one of the more obscure older albums and elevate it like that.
Yeah. Be interesting to see how it ends up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of the Stranger Things effect, what we're going to discuss next is one of those moments where rock imagery bleeds into pop culture without anyone planning for it. So, fans latched onto the Stranger Things finale's visuals and immediately started seeing Linkin Park's In the End all over it, which says as much about the staying power of that video as it does about how deeply rock visuals live in collective memory. So, Dorian, one, did you see the Stranger Things finale?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Two, now, do you remember Linkin Park's In the End video?
I did not, so I went and looked at it this morning.
Okay. So now that this is really fresh in your mind, do you think that they kind of sync up?
They do look very, very familiar. And so again, we're at that question: is this deliberate? Was Stranger Things deliberately giving a nod to Linkin Park? Was it accidental and coincidental, or was it the anxiety of influence again? Earlier, we had that situation where you noticed Biz Markie in Guns N' Roses. Well, maybe this, and perhaps Axel had heard the Biz Markie song at a supermarket and it lodged in his unconscious, and he went down to write music. It just came at him and he didn't realize it. Maybe it's the same thing with the Stranger Things and Linkin Park. Anxiety of
Maybe it was
influence.
Dizzy. Maybe it wasn't Axel.
Hey, you're right about that.
But it is very similar. So what we're talking about is Vecna's Abyss scene, and the environment in that is very similar to the environment in that Linkin Park video. I'm not really sure if, we have a chicken and the egg sort of thing here, if they borrowed from each other, but the Abyss just it's an abyss. It's very desert-like, it's very
Yellow.
dark sun. Could they have taken from the Linkin Park video? Maybe, but it could be a very independent landscape based on the thought of what this looked like.
Yep.
So that's what I'm going with it. So if any of you have an opinion on this, please just send us a comment and let us know what you think. This whole Poison block is less about nostalgia and more about how legacy bands actually function in 2026. You've got side projects moving forward, a very public disagreement over tour economics, and competing versions of what the future of the band looks like, all playing out in real time. Now, Dorian, do you remember sometime last year, I think early last year, we were discussing that we wanted to actually travel and go to a show together, and we were talking about various shows, and we saw something that said Poison would be
Hmm.
doing a show this year. So we were very excited about it, and we decided that Poison was gonna be our show. Do you remember that?
Yep, I do. I mean, we had a whole list of bands and real contenders, but I think we were like, but if Poison announces a tour, forget everything else.
Yes. So at the time, they were saying that they were gonna come out and they were going to for their 40th anniversary of Look What the Cat Dragged In, we were waiting for the shows to come out so we could figure out where we're gonna see it. I got nails that are in Poison colors all ready for this show, and we waited and waited and waited, and nothing. Nothing's come out. Now, we are still hearing about shows coming up, people talking about tours that are going on still this summer, and they've released schedules. So I was still thinking maybe it's going to roll out anytime now. It's going to be a late summer into the fall tour. This could still happen. But no, Dorian, I'm
Nope.
sorry. It is not going to happen this year. So there's a lot of different pieces to the evolution of this story. So Ricky Rocket has actually been doing a lot of promotion for his band, the Rocket Mafia, and I'll talk about some of their projects a little more. But Ricky's been out there doing promo for this, and of course the question comes up, well, what about this Poison tour for 2026? And he's gotta say something about it. He
Yep.
can't just ignore it and be like, no comment. Because clearly tour dates are not coming out. He's talking about things that he's doing with the Rocket Mafia, so people are really wondering. So during one of these interviews, he did say that he, Cece, and Bobby were all on board for this 2026 tour, but the problem is Brett. So Brett apparently really wanted the lion's share of the money. He wanted basically when he asked financially what it would take for him to do the tour, he wanted like $6 to every $1 for the other band members.
That's a 600%. That's nuts.
Yeah, which is a lot. Now, to think about this, when you think Poison, well, I think of all four guys.
So do I.
I
Yep.
can't see Poison without Ricky, Bobby, Cece, and Brett. But there are some other bands where, as long as you have that lead singer, and maybe the lead guitarist, people will go, okay, I'll go see that band. We see
Right.
that with a lot of these legacy bands where they're going out with, one or
One
two
person.
members, and typically it's the singer. The singer carries the band.
Right.
So potentially you could look at it and think, okay, is Brett like, well, I'm the face of the band. I'm the voice of the band. I should be getting all of this
Right.
money. So not so, apparently. So they really didn't get to that, contract financial piece. They were still kind of feeling things out. So Brett has come and pushed back on what Ricky had said. And basically he said that things weren't coming together. They weren't getting the tour dates together, that he had already started planning some of his Brett Michaels band tour dates. So then those would be in conflict with the stadium tour with Poison. And he said that financially, they had just been doing exploration of, what would it take for these guys to want to do this? And Brett gave his number, and that was his number. It wasn't a demand on you, give me this number or else. This was just, they said, how much would it take? And he said, this is what I want. This is what I'm worth. and I guess the rest of the band didn't shoot as high. But that wasn't, the true reason why everything fell apart. It wasn't like they came to Brett and said, "Okay, well, this is the money we're gonna give you." They didn't even get to that point.
Right.
Brett has come out and said that Ricky has said the same thing, that they have been in direct contact with each other and they are very optimistic that they will be able to actually put something together for 2027. And they're going to call it the 40th plus one anniversary
Yeah.
with the cat dragged in.
Kind of typical of Poison to show up a year late. But I'm also like, I mean, my reaction is, I don't know, it's been like 2 years now of going on the internet to see like Poison tour. I don't know if I believe it at this point. It sounds like it's pretty final to me. I mean, they've gone through this rigmarole a whole bunch of times already.
Yeah, we'll see. Brett goes out a lot with his Brett Michaels band, but that's very controlled. It's in smaller settings. He can kind of be a weekend warrior with that.
Right.
As opposed to if you do a stadium tour, you're out there. They're going to be out there for however many months this thing goes on. So, that's a really big commitment. The band has to pick up. They're going to leave their families for all that time, leave their
Right.
lives just to be on the road. And they're not young, and there are some medical issues
Mm.
going on with some of them as well, that kind of grueling schedule can really take a toll on somebody. So that's something to consider as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. I wasn't even thinking of that. My whole outlook on this was like, what's up with Brett Michaels? Like, the guy's old. What does he need all that money for at this point? But I guess it is when you're over 65 and you're touring like that.
Yeah.
Maybe that is a reasonable compensation, but then everybody should be making equally.
That's true, that's true.
Mm.
Brett kinda said, "Well, everyone should ask for more." This wasn't
Oh, he did
it
say
wasn't
that?
like he Yeah, it wasn't like he said, "No, I don't like this money from the contract," because it never even went to contract.
Right.
They just asked, "Well, what do you guys want?" And they asked them each individually what they wanted, and Brett apparently said a lot more than everybody else. He
Huh.
picked a high number. They did not pick as high.
And they're like, no. And he's like, okay, bye. No, go, no bringing it to
They
the
they
table.
they they apparently didn't even get to that point of it, and there's some controversy about all of that as well, so who knows what the real story is. Ricky and Brett have made up at this point. They've kinda come together, and they are moving forward with a very friendly front, and I guess that's what we have to look at now. But, saying all that, when this was going down and it looked like there was, bad blood between Ricky and Brett, a lot of the fans were pushing and saying, "Well, maybe Ricky, Bobby, and Cece should go out
Mm.
without Brett. Screw him if he has
Yeah,
his
I would
Michael
see it.
band." I would see it too. But who would you think, should replace
Oh, no.
Brett if that was to move forward?
Oh, gosh. That's a hard one. In
It
that
is.
age group from that era, Mike Tramp. No, he was just not the kind of person that would sing
No.
Talk Dirty to me. They got to
No,
be,
no, 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 no.
I can't see him doing that. See, I don't know. That's a tough one.
Well, I can tell you who a fan favorite is.
Okay.
Stevie Rochelle from Tough.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. He even dressed like Brett Michaels.
Yes, and sometimes in articles, they would actually use Stevie's picture instead of Brett because they have a very similar look, that blonde
Wow.
hair, bandana, and things like that. Now, the other part to that is, now if we go back in time to the 90s, there was an issue between Brett and the band, and supposedly Stevie got a call that they needed him to come pretty quick, like the next day or so, to a show because Brett was done with the band and he wasn't gonna be
Wow.
there. Yeah. Now, Stevie hasn't really talked about that publicly, and the band hasn't talked a lot about it, but Stevie did a teaser and saying, he might tell the whole story of that. Now, obviously, that didn't happen. Stevie didn't end up having to come out and fill in for that show or span of shows because things worked out with the band, but that is interesting. Now,
Huh.
Stevie's voice is very different than Brett's, and I did hear, he did a cover of "Look What the Cat Dragged In," and it is different, but I
Yeah.
could go with it.
Okay.
I could see him doing it, and I would go see that if he came out with Ricky, Bobby, and CeCe and came
There's
out.
a music festival that I talk about a lot that I go to every summer. Picktown Palooza, and they basically have all the legacy rock and metal bands come through. And last year, it might have been on the same day that the Rocket Mafia played the same time that Tough did. The same, I think they were on the same bill that
Oh,
night.
maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
so maybe they was talking backstage. Yeah.
Maybe,
Hmm.
maybe. Well, speaking of the Rocket Mafia, so as all of this Poison drama was going down, Ricky Rocket did come out and say that the Rocket Mafia will be going out on tour and they will be performing the entire Look What the Cat Dragged In album as the Rocket Mafia. So
Cool.
I think that's pretty exciting. They have some really solid talent in the Rocket Mafia. I would definitely go see the Rocket Mafia if
Yeah.
they were to come here. I've seen them mostly playing. I haven't seen them coming to where I am. I've seen them playing a lot of local stuff in California to where they are, but I would go see them.
Well, I heard Picktown Palooza. They were possibly going to ask them to come back again this year too. So if you
Maybe
live,
I need to come up and see you for
yeah.
this.
And if any of you live in Ohio, it's in Columbus and it's in July, and it's 3 days of rock music from bands we listened to when we were growing up.
Yeah, maybe we have to do that. The Rocket Mafia is so when they initially came together, they reimagined a lot of late 70s, early 80s songs. Did you hear their cover of I Think I Love You from the Partridge Family?
No, no.
It's good. I like it. It kind of twists it and it has this dark evil sound coming in instead of that really bright uplifting beginning to it.
Okay,
It's good.
cool,
I would like to hear the other reimagining, but besides that, they are evolving now and they are working on original material.
cool.
So that's exciting as well. I definitely do want to check them out if they come through this area. And if not, maybe, our mysterious benefactor will help me get up there so I could watch the show with you. We could do some
Yeah,
interviews together.
that would be cool.
Might be a
Yeah, indeed. It is now time for some new releases, new music, and new videos. And starting us off today, we got Def Leppard. Yeah, they've released a new single called Rejoice. This dynamic track comes ahead of Def Leppard's triumphant return to Las Vegas for the Def Leppard Live at Caesar Palace, the Vegas residency. And that starts February 3rd. Rejoice is available on Me now and all streaming platforms. So you can watch the original video on YouTube as well.
Next up, Wicked Angel. Now, we did a new rock releases podcast a couple of weeks ago where we did feature Wicked Angel. We really like Wicked Angel. They're so nice, but they did have a new video come out for their track Going for the One in January. I really like this track. It really sits in the kind of modern melodic hard rock revival lane. The video is kind of really cool. It goes back and it's got some black and white where it looks through the whole process of them getting this song together. They're a fun band. They do remind me a little bit of Poison, a little bit of Lita Ford. So this was exciting going for the one. So check them out.
Yeah, I really like the song too. It's the band is an interesting intersection between like glam, hard rock from the 80s and more of the pop punk sound. I love how they put them two together. Those are my two favorite genres of rock, and the singing is fantastic in it. So Wicked Angels definitely a band that y'all should be looking out for. Now, we got some stuff going on here with Thayer St. James. Kiss guitarist Tommy Thayer recently reunited with former bandmates from Black and Blue, singer Jamie St. James, to write and record a new 6-song EP called Bombshell. The official music video and the EP title track can now be viewed. Bombshell is the first time since the late 80s that they've written and recorded new music side by side. I don't know what you thought of it. I listened to it. Honestly, I was like, this is probably not going to be too great, whatever. And I listened to it 3 times in a row. I really love the song. It is catchy. It is poppy. It's definitely got some pop punk sound to it as well. The melody is really good. The lyrics are kind of dark lyrics with a happy chorus. That's how it sounds to me. I was very impressed by this.
I do like it. It is a really good song. And this is another one of those where if you do want that album, you need to go to their website to be able to get it. They will send you actually a physical copy, a CD. They haven't worked out how to get vinyl out to you without it breaking, but you will get actually a physical copy of a CD and they'll sign it for you. So if you're interested in that, make sure to go to their websites, Thayer St. James. Next up, we have Black Label Society, BLS. So they've got a new album that will be coming out, Engines of Demolition. Supposedly, this album is going to include a tribute to Ozzy that's going to be called Ozzy's Song. So it'll be interesting to hear that. I feel like that's probably going to be something slower and melodic, and maybe more along the lines of like a Mama, I'm Coming Home, or
Yeah.
even like D from Randy Rhoads. That's kind of how I feel, but who knows? Who knows
Yeah.
what Zach will do with that as far as a tribute for Ozzy. They did also just release a new video for a song coming off that album, Name in Blood. Um, and I did listen to Name in Blood, and I do like it. Like, musically, I like it. The guitar, the fills, the riffs, the solos, like, it is all there. I like it, but I feel like they're not confident in the singer. Like, they just throw on a singer, and it's Zach, and Zach can sing. So, but I feel like Black Label Society would almost be better with this as, like, a jam band, to where
Mm,
it's just the music is the focus and not the singer, because I feel like the singer is kind of muted and distorted, and that's not the main thrust of their music on this album. That it is that it's kind of thrown in as an afterthought and
right.
down. So what do you think of that?
Yeah, I definitely got the sense that when they sat down to do the songwriting, they got the guitar and the drums and the melody and the bass, and then like, oh, we got to come up with some vocals for this thing. It would probably be really hard against his ego to do this, but to bring in like a new younger singer, George Lynch with his Lynch Mob, other bands that he's done as well. He's always drafting like new younger people that really have strong voices. Now I know that we don't want the vocalist to take the spotlight completely on this album. This is Zach Wild. It's all about Zach Wild. But
Mhm.
just to give the listener just something little better in the vocal area.
Yeah, I feel like it's intentional though. I feel like
Hmm,
because, Zach's really known for his guitar work,
right,
that that's what they really wanna shine, and that it is very intentional the way that they have the singing with the distortion and the kinda lower volume, so it just sort of blends into everything else, and you hear the other parts so much stronger.
right,
The bass, the guitars, the drums, everything is so much stronger than the singing. And like I said, Zach can sing. So it's
yeah,
not an issue where Zach can't sing. So they're trying to hide that. I think that the singing is not the main point. The lyrics are not the main point of what
right,
this band does. And that's why I say I feel like they should be more of like one of those jam bands where it's really just without the singer and it's the music, or some of those that guitar music like Steve Vai has done, where he's just
yeah,
put out these albums where it's just music. There's no
right,
singer, just have the music. I would go see that with Black Label
right.
Society. I don't necessarily need the singing. It's nice that it's there. It kind of completes everything, but I don't know that they need it.
So this album's going to sell to fans of Zach Wild, and will it reach beyond that? Is the question. I think if his intention is to write an album that's going to go beyond the immediate fan base, it would probably be beneficial to have a singer there, even though we don't want to emphasize the vocals on this album. If I just went downstairs and played Black Label Society to my wife, she's never heard them before. If I played them in the house, she wouldn't recognize it. I think her first reaction would not be, "Wow, those guitars are great." It would be like, "What's up with the singing?" Right? But
Exactly. Exactly.
but she's not a Zach Wild fan, so she doesn't know that you're not really supposed to be listening to that.
Yeah, and Black Label Society, they have a huge following, and but this is gonna make the fans happy.
Yep.
This is what they're looking for, this is what they want, they're going for their core audience, and they hit a home run with it, I'd say.
Thanks everybody for listening to our monthly news review. You can come check us out at rockerstodoctors.com, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Instagram, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Music.
And for daily rock news updates, check us out on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Remember to like and subscribe so you never miss an update.
That's all for now. Headbanging with a hypothesis.